Hi everybody, Ash here, and I kind of wanted to go over a few things with you when Midnight drops for Season 1 of the Mythic Keystone rotation. So there's a lot of returning dungeons that not a lot of people had much information about, or they might have skipped over that particular expansion. So I'm here to kind of go over each and every dungeon that's returning and give you as much information as I can, as well as any routes that I take and any tips and tricks. We're going to be starting with Algeth'ar's Academy. I hope you enjoy the video, and as always, rest well when you do, and happy hunting, and shine on, Warcrafters! Hi everybody! So as you can see, Algeth'ar's Academy is one of the dungeons that will be returning in Midnight Season 1. Algeth'ar's Academy is located in Thaldraszus, just right behind Valdrakken, to the north west location. You can get here easily by taking either the teleporter or just flying from the city to here. Once you're inside, you're going to be noticed that there's one of these air ramps. As soon as you take this, it crosses you over to the other side and starts a little RP between some of the NPCs in the area.
Welcome to Algeth'ar Academy.
But for the interest in time, since we are going to be doing this on the Mythic level for the Keystones, we're going to avoid the RP for now. So, the one big thing about Algeth'ar's Academy that changes pretty much how you play the game are the various buffs you get at the very start of the dungeon. So once you put the key in and the dungeon starts and you come to this platform, you need to pick one of these different dragonflights to give you a buff. For instance, the Black Dragonflight Recruiter will give you 5% more crit. The Bronze Dragon will give you 5% more haste.
New students. How wonderful.
The Red Dragon gives you 5% versatility.
Since the academy has been open.
The Green Dragon gives you 10% healing increased to you. So if you're a tank, that's really good for your healers. And the blue one is mastery increased by a certain amount, depending on the expansion with the stat squish that is going to be changing here. But it's right here, it's 1200. In all regards that I do, I always take the haste one. But again, your classes may differ and want something better. So, the one thing also about Algeth'ar's Academy that is pretty daunting for most new players, it's which way to go. The dungeon is an open dungeon that has two pathways you can take. You can go fight the boss on the left, go to the second boss, and then come back down and fight the boss on the right, third, and then go into the final boss room. Or vice versa. Most people like to go one way or the other, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you how I used to run this as a tank. So we're going to be heading to the left to Veximus. But before that, there's a lot of trash in the way, and this trash is particularly dangerous. So, as you can see here on this bridge to Veximus, there are these elementals. The Spellbound Battle Axe has to be the first target to be destroyed. It does a massive cleave AoE. The other mana fiends aren't that bad, so you can just kill them easily.
Professor Max Dorman is almost ready for lessons. To see if there is anything he needs assistance with.
Now, if you're ever in a situation where you're facing a spell staff or these scepters, these are the priority target now, because they are casters. They need to be interrupted or they get off their magic and it hurts the party. Again, just take care of the other ads and go forward. The pull here usually is to grab both packs of ads and stop right here and AoE down the spell staff and then the battle axe, and then by that time the little elementals should be pretty much dealt with. Alright, so we're going forward again. So now here comes one of the more unique mobs in this dungeon. These arcane ravengers. So what these things do is they target a player and will jump to you and cast a breath beam. It's easily line of sightable, or just get out of the way. You have more than enough time to run and move. The mana worms, they just are annoying and they die pretty easily.
Target you.
So you see Vicious Ambush?
Shockwave.
It'll do that and run to you and then cast that. So you want to get out of it as fast as possible. Veximus has a very unique platform to get him to spawn. You see here he has several mobs that are on this platform, some of those elementals, some spell staffs, and some battle axes. But now the most dangerous item or boss up here, enemy up here, are these unruly textbooks. They have an AoE fear. If it gets off, it can spell doom for your party because you'll end up fleeing into other mobs, and it's not so good. So focus target the unruly textbooks first. One of the more notable features is the arcane orbs. Around the room, 5 orbs will spawn wherever Veximus is at, so they center around him. So they're not always going to be in the same place, and sometimes if you're against the walls, one might spawn there. These orbs must be gathered before they reach Veximus. Now, collecting an orb deals a good amount of damage and puts a dot on you. It also gives you a debuff that makes you take more damage to the next one, spelling almost insta-death if you take 2. He also has an ability called Arcane Fissures. At 100 energy, he'll knock players away, and they'll be getting pulsing with energy, doing massive AoE damage around them. You do this for 3 to 4 times, just slowly kite it, and be careful where you're not running on top of your healers. Mana bombs need to get out of the way of the boss because they leave a puddle on the ground that takes a lot of damage and ticks very, very quickly. Also, inside these particular zones, your movement speed is reduced by 30%. So you're going to be very, very slow and take a lot of damage. And if orbs are about to come out or something else, it can spell really bad for you. Arcane Expulsion is a AoE in front of Veximus that needs for the tank to point away from the group, or they're going to take massive damage. Now, Veximus isn't really a hard boss once you can figure out his mechanics. It's just gathering orbs. That's the hard part. So, with Veximus out of the way, we'll move on to the next boss. Now, leaving the Veximus area, you're going to encounter more of these mana worms. Now, on your way through this bridge, you're going to see there's now 2 weapons at a time. So just, again, target down the spell staff, kill that first, kill the axe, and then AoE should kill the mana fiends. Now, this is where some tanks try to get as much percentage as possible. I've seen tanks clear this entire area for percentage. What I normally do is I'll grab these guys and take them into these mana worms. And I'll go around here because you can line of sight the ambush jump. And again, I'll pull this pack of mobs into these little mana worms just to kill them. It's free percentage. It's not a lot, but it's enough to make it so you don't need certain mobs at the end of the dungeon. Again, there's another jump pad leading us to a small mini-boss encounter. This mini-boss is very dangerous, as it puts a wind effect in the arena that pushes you away, and will target players with a massive damaging hit. If you have to hide behind the platforms or you're going to get killed. He also does a whirlwind suck-in, and you also have to get away from that too. He's worth a good amount of percent, so you cannot skip him. Now we're on to the second boss, Caw. When you land, you're going to notice that there are a bunch of birds on the platform. These birds aren't really that dangerous, so just gather them up as a tank and AoE them down. However, make sure DPS and healers, you keep your eyes to the sky, because in a second, once the final bird dies, more birds are going to spawn up in the skybox, see? And the Alpha Eagle is your primary target, as it has a fear mechanic. So just AoE the Primal Eagle down, and you'll be fine. The next pack will spawn right as you kill the last bird. This one will have 2 Alpha Eagles. So this is where you have to watch your cooldowns on interrupting and make sure you stop them. After that's done, you can activate the boss encounter. These 3 little orbs will play a part during the boss encounter, as well as these little light platforms. So, first off, we're going to start the boss encounter. Have 3 DPS, grab the orbs, you just walk into them, and you bring them to the gold circle. You don't have to click anything until you get there. So you don't worry about clicking anything. As soon as you step in the gold circle, you'll get your extra action button to pop up. You're noticing at the top there's a scoreboard. You want to always try to fill one side of the score up and never split it up, because it's going to cause a lot of issues. So for now, we can only activate the fire side. Keynote, once you put this last one in, the platform will be hit with a massive amount of fire damage. Don't stand there, because it can kill you even before the fight even starts. You'll see it in just a second. Okay, so you're going to notice a bit of a cut there. So as soon as you put all 3 orbs into the respective hoop to start the fight, the boss automatically aggroes. So for any reason, if you do happen to wipe like I had to, you can mount up and run back here pretty quickly after a wipe. Okay, so let's go over the boss's mechanics. He has some very nasty attacks. First one being the play ball mechanic. So you're going to notice during the fight, orbs will spawn that people can run into, like when we started the encounter in the first place. You always want to try to go into either side for all 3, never splitting which one goes in where. So, for instance, if you want to start with the fire ability, which is Searing Glory, it stuns Caw for 12 seconds, and he takes a bunch more damage, about 75%. This is a great hero is done. So also, however, as you score in that one, there's going to be fire on the arena constantly from then on out in on Keystone mode. The other one is Rushing Winds. All this is you just get pushed back from the boss and try to get knocked off the edges. There will be orbs that are placed in the area that if you grab, you get a movement speed boost, or a haste boost, I should say, as well as a movement speed, and you don't get affected by the pushback. So the reason why you would score goals in the first place is because for healers, it is Deafening Screech. So obviously Deafening Screech will interrupt you if you casting while it goes off. However, as this ability goes off, it stacks, doing more and more damage each time the AoE goes off. Now, it also hits around the target, so you want to be spread out when it goes off. Usually what we do, we'll try to get up to 4, maybe 5 if the healer could handle it, then score the goals to make sure we don't end up wiping on the next Deafening Screech. But again, it's all up to your healer and what they can handle. At the start of the season, though, no more than 3. On the tank, however, will be an ability called Savage Peck. This is just a heavy bleed that ticks over time. So it's a physical damage ability. So if you have anything that blocks physical damage, absorbs it, this is your way to go. The other problem with this boss is it has an ability called Overpowering Gust. Every so often, the boss will target in front of him a massive burst of wind, knocking anyone who's in front of it off the platform, or close off the platform, depending on where you're at the time. Always be aware of this and move away from the boss when this happens. The boss stays in place while casting this ability. The whole point of this fight is to make sure you manage your orbs as well as your Deafening Screech debuff. Also, you have to have a lot of mobility because the Firestorm and the Windstorm will always be around constantly on Mythic Plus after you activate them. So you only get one chance at the 70% damage boost on the boss. So make use of it as best you can. Now we move on to the next boss. Now, depending how they do the waypoint system, depends on where you spawn if you die there. This dungeon's pretty small, so they probably won't put the waystones into effect, but I don't know at this time. But we'll play it by ear as it comes. Now we're going to everyone's favorite boss, the tree boss. I say that because this room is where you can get a massive amount of percentage, as well as, show off your DPS. This boss only spawns once all of the adds in this room are dead. Like the boss in Floodgate, you want to stack on your tank to minimize as much damage as possible, as well as so the tank does not lose aggro on the mobs. During the fight at the start, the Ancient will spawn a bunch of seedlings on the ground. You can DPS these down as fast as possible. Any left up will be germinated and grow into mobs that will just run wild on the party. They do a massive AoE dot on the tank, so the less that are up, the easier it'll be. However, when the boss does this ability the second time, he's going to cast Auto Germinate, and all remaining buds, as well as the new set, are going to spawn automatically. There's really no way to get around it. The other ability during this fight that seems to be deadly for most players is Branch Out. Branch Out is an ability that targets a player and throws basically an ancient, little Trent at a person. This Trent has a circle around them that casts a heal. It heals the boss and heals anyone inside of it. For healers, primarily, you're always going to be taking a constant tick of damage. Standing in this is the only way to prevent it. So positioning the boss outside the ring, or if you can power through the boss while the boss is healing, you want to do that. But you still want to kill that ad relatively fast. Other than that, you just move around the room like normal, like you would see in Operation Floodgate with the swamp boss. And that's pretty much it. There's not much more to worry about. If you're a paladin and you have the ability learned that is your Cleanse Toxins, the little lashers, that the stacking debuff, you can just cleanse it right off. It's not a problem for you. But yeah, also watch out for Bark Breaker. It just makes you take more damage after you take the massive hit. So other than that, this boss is really simple, really fun, and good with heroism on the second set of ads after he casts Germinate. Okay, after that boss, you want to make your way up these stairs, and you're going to encounter these Echo Knights. And there's also going to be this Invoker in the back. So one trick that I learned back in Dragonflight that still works today is these Echo Knights do a whirlwind attack. Since Blizzard is bad at XYZ axes, if the mobs are higher than you on the staircase and you're down below, their AoE will not hit you. So normally, a tank will pull these guys, grab these three, and maneuver themselves down the staircase, because now I'm not taking any damage from that whirlwind. It becomes a very easy fight to kill.
Target you.
So at this point, you should have almost enough percent. You can kill these mobs right here. You won't need that pat unless you did take a different route. And so most people will just do this. They'll grab these mobs and all of these and start the RP of this boss by coming around.
Who are you? You are not registered here.
So this just brings the mobs to you and gathers them up. Okay, so now on to the boss, Doragosa. This fight, it can be a pain for newcomers, so we're going to go over this fight very, very slowly. The main ability this boss has is it has an Arcane Rift. It's a big AoE around it, and you're going to want to get out of it. It's centered on the boss, so even if you move the boss from where it starts, it's going to be still cast. Everyone in the party also gets an ability called Overwhelming Power. If this stacks 3 times, it's going to drop an Arcane Rift. That Arcane Rift will leave a pool on the ground, and anyone who stands in it will take damage. Now, this place will be filled with those circles and all that ground AoE, so you got to use the room as much as possible. Tanks pulling to the corners, kiting around, things like that. The way to gain stacks is being hit by anything the boss does. So be aware of that. If you take damage from any of the abilities, you're going to get a stack. Upon 3, you'll spawn the pool on the ground. So, Dorogosa, like every dragon, also has a breath that targets all players in front of her and also applies overwhelming power to struck players. So again, getting hit by anything in this fight will give you the stack of overwhelming power. Even though you're doing more damage, you're going to cause more rifts on the ground. Power Vacuum, she sucks everyone into her. This is really dangerous if you're getting pulled through pools on the ground. Be aware. And then just Magic Missiles is just damage to one player. It also stacks overwhelming power. So she'll force you to take damage to drop puddles on the ground. And that's pretty much the fight. Normally, most tanks will tank her back here to give the party enough room to kind of maneuver. You want to stay stacked as much as possible so you can drop all your puddles in the same place. But again, that's a perfect world and not everyone is the same. So, also you're going to notice these flags in this room really block your camera so you can't zoom out really effectively. And that's Algeth'ar Academy. It's a very easy dungeon, very fast. I feel this will be the freebie key of Midnight, meaning it's going to be the one that people can time the easiest and the fastest. There's some pretty good trinkets in here for starting out, but I wouldn't use it as a farm basis for them. For instance, for trinkets, you have the Emerald Coach, which basically applies a mastery buff to you and a player. Very powerful for healers. The Dragon Game Equipment, which, well, puts balls on the ground, you kick them into players. We've seen this in War Within with the little bombs you kick. Never works good. It's this puzzle box everybody wants. So you take a second to solve the puzzle, and you get a massive boost to mastery. This is the trinket most DPS go after. So be aware of that. And there are a few weapons here that you can get. A two-handed axe, you know, a staff, you know, some really nice warglaives that I think are one of the best sets of warglaives you can get from a dungeon here in Dragonflight. But yeah, other than that, I thank you for enjoying this video, and as always, rest well when you do. Happy hunting, and shine on, Warcrafters.